Right, this is Rick Pardo, and I'm recording this so that we have a record of how to update the Trillium files, or update the spreadsheet files using Trillium data. So we're going to update the student information. This is assuming then that you've already pulled the data from Trillium and you have updated absence and mark information in a CSV or a comma-separated variable file. So the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to open, the easiest way to do it is if you start with the master. Okay, now I happen to keep my master file here in this section under school data, but it's the 0 master marks and absences 0910 is the one that I'm going to be using. So we open that file, and what you see pop up is the graphs and calculations are formed around the top and the right hand side of a blank area here, which is the data section. Okay, so what we're going to be doing is we're going to populate this data section with your data, which will then update the files, or the graphs and the other calculations that need to be done. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, so I don't overwrite the master here, I'm going to File, Save As, and we're just going to save this as, I'm going to put it in someone's area here, so we'll just use, doesn't really matter, I'll use Saunders here as an example. Okay, Saunders, we're going to call this Saunders marks and absences, and we're going to call this is going to be semester 1 M for midterm marks in 2010, just as an example. Okay, and we save that file, and so that's taking a while to save. The other thing I'm going to do is change my little master here, just edit this, because this again is going to be Saunders, and it's going to be 1M for 2010. Take this off. Okay, so that's just a reminder that I've made those changes. Okay, the other file, I'm going to need other files here, so I'm going to open the CSV file from Trillium that's been pulled. File, Open, and you'll know what the name of that is because someone will have sent it to you, you will have downloaded it. It's in the Saunders area, so if I change the type of file from an Excel file to a CSV file, I pick one of these, and I'm just going to use the semester 1 data that I have from Saunders from last year as an example. Open that file. So here, this is the file output. Preferred name at the top, A1, and across. So preferred name, preferred first name, all these headings comes across here. Column 1 and column 2. Sometimes these get reversed. You should have your absence in column 1 and your mark in column 2. If they're not in that order, you should flip them, and it's just a matter of copying the entire column of numbers, pasting and moving them around. Okay, so assuming that you've got your absence and marks in the right columns, it's just a matter of highlighting everything, all the data, okay, copying that, moving to your other file and your master file, and at the A20, column A20, right where Jones is there, okay, we're going to paste the data we just copied. And we should see an update of all the numbers. Okay, good. Now what you'll notice is you got a lot of zeros here, and the reason there are zeros is that there's a number of placeholders that I've put in. If we go to the bottom of your list, your data list, so hitting the page down and sliding down through, there's a lot of kids here. When we get to the bottom, you notice there are a number of blanks here, and we need to take those blanks out. Okay, so if I just highlight the row marker here, so that 7317, rather than just the cell, by highlight the entire row. Okay, now I can go down page at a time, or if I hit the end key and then the down arrow, that'll take me right to the very bottom. Right? So I've highlighted all the missing rows with no data in them, and you'll notice at the very bottom there's some red. Okay, that's the indicator. I've put them in red so I know, as a placeholder, I know that that is the bottom. I'm going to delete these rows now. I just need to right click over that and then hit delete. That takes out the empty rows. I'm still left with one red, this Peter Zeller's here. Okay, and I'm just going to overwrite Peter's data with Menset here, going over to get the absence there and the mark. I'm going to copy that section, right click, and paste that section. And then now I don't want to have a double entry here for this last entry for PPL1OM, so I'm going to highlight that whole row and remove it by hitting delete. So right click and remove. Now that should be just about everybody. Hitting the end up, I go to the very top. There's your data. It's updated. So again, I just need to save that before I forget to do that. All right. One last thing I'm going to do before I leave this, or a couple of last things. I'm going to change this number. The total marks that we're going to compare here is actually 7,297, so we can do that before you distribute it around. Okay, so that adjusts this, so now we're looking at 100%. So all the marks that were, all the courses, credits that were offered last year in this particular semester are here. And one other thing you may want to do is, well, a good thing actually is do protecting the sheet so that people, when they're using this, don't inadvertently erase some calculations that are there. Okay, we can do it that way. And that's pretty much it. It should work. Okay. Another option that you have would be to, I'm going to unprotect the worksheet here, to make your sheets much smaller, is that you notice once we do the calculations here in these files, so when I'm pulling out department numbers, for example, there's a calculation that's done. I can minimize the calculations, which may make this file operate a little faster, by copying those calculations and pasting them just as values. When I do that, though, to make sure the spreadsheet still works, I can only go from, I'm going to copy from column M and leave the first row, that row 20 alone, just so I have it in case I need to redo it at some point. I'm just going to go to this first, just to column AB. Right? And then I'm going to jump to the very end by hitting the end key and then the down arrow, copying that whole block, and then when I paste it, be very careful. So when I paste it, I'm going to not just paste, I'm going to paste special. Paste special, values only, and click OK. And what that does is it makes the file just a little bit smaller. So now when I go here, see my data, I can protect the worksheet, making sure that people can edit objects and edit scenarios. And then I save it. Okay, that'll result in a smaller file. It'll respond a little bit better for you. Okay, hope that helps.